Deacon's, he's got a podcast, and he's always talking about what's that for?
Yeah, because of what that does to my ears.
Oh, well, I'm trying to fix it. It's
fine.
Bothering the shit out of me.
What's bothering you about it? You don't like the look of it?
Yeah, it was too close to me. Okay. I'm over it.
This is such a scratchy track.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection and our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host, Joseph Quick. Joseph, say hi.
What up, y'all?
And tonight we have with us a special guest, Director of Photography, Cory James Taylor. Cory.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome. Last week, or last episode, actually, we're calling this is episode 1 of season 2, y'all.
Yeah.
We made it through a year.
Yeah,
right,
we did.
Joe?
We did.
And we were consistent for a long time, and then we got busy, as happens, and we haven't really had a chance in a couple of months. So
yeah, no, I took a couple executive producer credits under my belt, and those movies took a little bit more time and stuff like that. So hopefully it pays out. We'll see. But we're not going anywhere. We love doing this.
Welcome to season 2, everyone. So last season we ended with Liz, Joseph's wife, where we talked about The Devil on Screen, and we randomly selected The Prophecy from 1995, written and directed by Gregory Wyden. So today with Cory, we are going to be discussing our recommendations for martial arts movies. But before we do, and we're kind of staying in like the modern era. We're just kind of talking about this. So like, as far as what y'all may think are martial art movies, there's decades and decades and decades. So I don't know. I didn't go back too far, but we're going to be covering that right after we talk about The Prophecy. Yeah. So, but before we do that, Cory, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man. So I've been doing this for actually going on about 10 years now. I was a little late to life to this, and I've been fortunate enough to work on anywhere from $1 million sets to, hey, can you come out and help me for a favor sets? So I think I've got a wide spectrum, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else, and I just wish I would have knew a little sooner that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Right. And when you say this, you mean working in film or the being behind the camera?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, working in film. Actually, funny enough, I started in like 2012 doing a podcast.
Okay.
So like you would call in and it was like a music show. So we'd like get basically all kinds of like unheard of music, and we'd have people send it in and we'd feature them on their show. They could call in. We could have live guests come in and talk. It was called the Occupy Underground podcast. Yeah,
interesting.
So that's how I started, and then I was taking pictures of my buddies' bands with like a cell phone. I had like a 8 megapixel, like one of the first Samsung.
Yeah, I had that phone. Yeah,
and it was like these are great photos.
Dude, back then it was, dude, top of the line, son.
And then I got
flip phone.
I got a Nikon. And I started taking photos, and then another photographer friend gave me like a 50 millimeter lens, and I was like, I was just recording something for the band, and then I flipped on video mode, and I literally just made a music video right there. It was kind of crazy.
The 50 millimeter is like the cracking the cherry of anyone. Like once you get your hands on a 50, regardless of anything else you shot, all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. 1.8? What? this is amazing.
We
One
leaned
lens to
on
rule
the
them all.
50 for a while. So how long were you like fan of movies itself? Young? Did it come to you later? What type of film fan are you?
Oh, I mean, so my mother's boyfriend at the time, he loved movies, and like, so he introduced me to this thing called Blockbuster.
Oh,
And man, so like I was a gamer. I'd always been a gamer.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like he would just like, we would just go and we would get like 8 to 10 movies at a time, and he actually liked like every movie. Like, so there's no movie back then that I didn't see that I probably wasn't supposed to. I would see like Jason, Shawshank Redemption, just anything and everything he could get his hands on. He really liked, and so I really enjoyed just watching
how
them.
young were you?
Oh man, I can't remember my life without movies. Honestly, maybe
Okay.
5 or 6. You know what I mean? He was in my life from the time I was like 6 to the time I was like 12, and so we would always go see movies, rent movies, like, and you know. He had back then, children, if you're listening, the adults had control of the TV at all times.
At all times.
So you just had to watch whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
So I miss, I know this is a small tangent, but an appropriate forum for it. The difference in selecting a movie to watch from a rental space like Blockbuster or Family Video or any place, there was something different about it because you weren't going to be there all day. You couldn't walk around Blockbuster. I mean, you could, they'd let you, but you personally wouldn't let yourself walk around Blockbuster for 2 hours. I have definitely found myself scrolling through one app, then another app, then another app for more time than I'd like to admit before making a decision.
More time than you wanted to commit
Right?
to the movie.
But you
You're
had
like, no,
mentioned
these are all 2 hours.
He would
2
go
hours
and
later.
you'd walk away with 8, 9 titles. There was just something about physically shopping for these movies that like put you into a deciding mode and you gambled your risks. Like 8 movies, you knew there was probably a span of comedy, action, you know. But I think it was a different viewing experience for us. While you're still taking it home, I just think the selection process changed how we appreciate, because I think we take that for granted.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, definitely, like, I've honestly, like, my girlfriend makes fun of me, but I like to just spend 20, 30 minutes just browsing movies. And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't even pick them. I just watch, you know what I mean? I'm
I
just,
add to my queue, and I never watch from my queue.
yeah, and we didn't have these
Never.
things called, like, stars, you know what I mean? We couldn't Google them. We didn't see what Rotten Tomatoes were. Like, oh, this is cool, this is cool. Like, get 2 comedies, 2 dramas, 2 actions.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you're like 2 weird films. You know what I mean? So that was just kind of how we did it. And then your friends would be like, "Have you seen this movie?" And you're like, "No, I haven't seen
You know,
it."
I had it in my hand, but I put it back.
And then my favorite thing was the video store, man. And I would always grab whatever most obscure thing I could find. You know what I mean? Because you run through the popular ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Going once a week, twice a week.
And then Tuesday was like the two for $1.50. You know?
Oh yeah,
2 for
oh yeah.
Tuesdays.
And then when they started going out of business, I stacked up on the 5 for $25 take homes.
Yeah.
So speaking of video stores, that is probably where our movie that we're discussing first this week probably did the best. I remember seeing it on the shelves there. I, as a child, never saw it, but came to it as an adult. But 1995's The Prophecy. So let's see. It grossed worldwide $16 million on a budget of $8 million, which is not bad. Excuse me, I'm struggling to burp. But I don't see a difference here between like theater release or VHS release. But I have to believe that, you know, it went on to some sequels that it lived
There's
in
5 or 6
the
of them.
rental
Yeah.
home video space.
There's at least 5 of them. I think there's 6.
Yeah, I was actually Googling it while we were watching it. It said it only grossed 16 million box office, but it really made all of its money, like, in the DVD sales.
Yeah, it just makes sense to me, you know, for
Yeah,
that
cult
type of
classic
movie,
for sure.
because of that word of mouth that you were discussing. You know, like it may not be something that, especially because it's rated R, and notoriously rated R movies are either super successful or no one goes to see them, and that's why Hollywood really shies away from wanting to make too many of them. You know, they love that PG-13 area.
'Cause especially now they don't have like the DVD sales
Yeah.
like they used to. Like I was just listening to a thing, and it's like, you know, they can't take the risk anymore. But back then you had DVD sales.
There was always a way to recoup it. Yep. Yeah. So what were you guys' thoughts on it? When was the last time you'd seen the movie? I know for me it was probably 2006, 7, 8 was probably the last time I saw this movie. So it was a real fresh watch for me.
For me, it was recent, within the last 6 years, because we have it on DVD. And as you know, before we moved into the new place, I never had any kind of
watched DVDs all the time, so you got good watch out. I used to be like that too. I still have that
$5 bin at Meijer, you know,
or 5 for $25 when you're stopping by the closing blockbuster.
Family Video,
Yeah, don't forget Family Video.
yeah, man.
Well, they were the longest standing one, man. They only recently became CBD distributors.
Right, yeah.
Well, so before I actually got my first job in the industry in the news, I actually had a job I was gonna manage Family Video.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from the news station. They're like, "Hey, we need somebody." And I was like, "Well, unless you can hire me on Monday, I'm starting at Family Video." And what they told me was like, they wanted to basically, weed was starting to become legal, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to be able to get weed and a movie delivered to you." You know what I mean? That was going to be their business model, and it just took a long time for it took a couple years for the weed thing to actually really head off.
Licensing,
and you could do CBD, but if Michigan could have legalized weed a little bit faster, we would have been
they went out
DVDs
of
and weed right
business.
to your door.
Oh, dude.
That's fascinating.
And most of them had a Little Caesars or something next door. They probably would have grabbed food for you.
Well, it's just a perfect.
Why wouldn't you?
That would have been
Saturdays would be popping. Friday nights would be popping. The fucking pizza guy coming up one side of the street, the DVD weed deliver up the other side, sharing the parking space. You're like, all right, Friday night, it's on.
I was legit excited, and then the news called, and I was like, well, you pay better, and that's more in the industry that I want to go.
Yeah.
So, for those who haven't seen The Prophecy, I'm going to read the IMDb log line because there's a lot happening in this, and I don't want to spoil it too much. If you haven't seen it,
spoil it.
Although, we're at this point. You're right. You should have watched it. But at the scene of a bizarre murder, LA homicide detective Thomas Daggett discovers a lethal heavenly prophecy now being fulfilled on Earth. In his fight to stop the forces of evil, he finds. I thought it was all. I didn't realize I had to open it. He finds an unlikely ally in an elementary school teacher. They couldn't have fit that all on there. I had to open it up for those 4 extra fucking words.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Because now you've clicked the link.
I did. Now they
got their count.
Several pages of synopsis, but I'm not going to read all those. So, my first reaction watching it after it's been as wild as it has been, it seemed like 2 movies were happening simultaneously until they merged together, and it really felt like it took a while for it to. It was hard for me to pace the movie with the odd commercial breaks, so trying to keep the act timing was a little bit more difficult. But it did feel like it was well into the halfway or past, so well into the second act before the school teacher and the children and Daggett's world kind of came together. Would you guys kind of agree on that?
It's kind of, I guess it would be the middle of the second act or that area when Eric Stoltz's character comes and meets, the girl finds him. Yeah. It's more towards the beginning of the second act, but it is a ways into the second act.
You feel you feel like a bit of the movie has. And I'm not saying it in a disparagingly way. It's just something I noticed. There was definitely.
I also think the first act goes by so fast that the second act kind of drags. So,
interesting.
And the third one is pretty long. You know what I mean? Once it hits, it's you're like. It's still going.
It's kind of nonstop,
It's not. It's a great movie. I love it, but
I definitely felt like it was. You could definitely tell that it was an indie movie. You know what I mean? And the way
for its time, it was pretty. Pretty high octane for not being an action flick. Right?
Oh yeah, you know what I mean.
Being theological.
I always wonder when those kind of movies, when the pacing seems a little off, what was the original script? What was the original plan? And what was the AD freaking out about? Oh, fuck, what do we do?
And it was an hour and 37 minutes. So how much footage was left on the floor? Were there scenes we didn't see? Because character development was light. And I don't know if it was due to time just to keep pacing moving forward or to keep the mystery. It could have been to keep the mystery. But the relationship between the teacher and the children, did you notice the age differences in all the children? There were teenagers in there with that 9-year-old girl.
So this is interesting. So the movie takes place in a town called Chimney Rock, and I've been here. I went there with my family, and there's only 140 to 300 people that have ever really lived in this town. The last time it was counted on the census was in 2020, and it was 140 people.
Oh, wow.
I just read it because I mentioned it to you guys. So, and then Hurricane Helene wiped the whole town out.
Wow.
Like they got out and everything,
Right,
you know what
but
I
it's
mean?
nothing
like,
to
there
come
were
back to.
minor injuries and stuff. But yeah, the town's gone. The river flooded, washed it away, and the state park for Chimney Rock is still not open.
Interesting.
Still closed.
Now that you say that, because one of the things I did notice was the number of locations for. So it makes sense. It makes sense that it. It makes that's funny. It makes sense that it was a lower budget because like you could probably name. There was the school a lot of times. There was that small trailer park out in Dust.
That was the reservation. That was the Indian reservation. Yeah.
Arizona.
And then, the stuff that happened. Was it New York City? Where did they start? Because he traveled a bit. But they said
it wasn't New York, I don't think.
I don't remember how many miles away that other officer said.
Philadelphia or I don't know.
So he was out of jurisdiction for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was simple. It was simple, but still felt large in a way. Like I didn't feel like it was an underwhelming movie in any way. I really, really dug the dark tone. I loved the camera movement.
Yeah, it definitely had some really nice, just subtleties. The Steadicam definitely was prominent. The opening jib shot was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
some interesting shots too, like Christopher Walken licking dried blood. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like as
nice
far as like the directing, you know what I mean? Like it definitely like the acting in there definitely sold that these angels were not human. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was
the perching. You said like
the perching, man,
like birds
on the top of the chairs, on the tombstones, the top of the was it the school at one point where they had the wide shot, which was likely not Christopher Walken, but they got that good close up before. But it was just I don't know. I don't think we get movies like this anymore.
No, we don't. And then we commented on it while we were watching it about how like the matte paintings and the practical effects and the marriage of like the use of camera movement and practical effects and matte painting to do the best you can, and it was sellable. It was impressive, and it wasn't. You're not like, oh, that's shitty computer work. You're like, ooh, look at all the artistry it took to pull that off, and it looks good. It's sellable.
Well, and I think today it's too easy to try and want to do things super flashy, and I felt like the subtleness in this made it more effective.
Yeah, because there wasn't a lot of it.
Simon, the Eric Stoltz character, like that opening shot told you he was something special, but otherwise he just looked like a fucking dude.
Yeah.
And yet his
acted a little weird,
performance, as Cory was saying, is really what like made the character come. Same with Gabriel. Now Gabriel, I don't know if it was just like some scenes it was the way it was lit, or if it was progressive as we got close to the end of the film. But sometimes you could really see his pale cake makeup on.
He
right?
Did
he get paler? Okay.
Yes.
So fascinating. You know, like that was really cool, but subtle to the point where I had to question, like, wait a minute, am I just now seeing him white as fuck?
Well, also, like, they did a great job filming in Blue Hour, and they had to do that over several days because they extended how long it really is. And, like, from there, the lighting gets darker and darker, and the people get whiter.
Right. So I don't know.
It was part of the theme.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I definitely feel like if the interior car shots weren't shot in a studio, they were definitely shot last for the day because it looked way darker.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, too, like some of that paleness lends to the fact that they're using like tungsten lighting and they're shooting like, 3200 Kelvin film. That was like, kind of like the silver
because tungsten
Hollywood
lights looked white. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you add like the small, like little blue steel backlight, you know what I mean, from like an HMI. It kind of it really just kind of gave it this unique, like almost kind of dead vibe, you know what I mean? Nice. Like,
very 90s. Like it was clearly a 90s era film, and one of my favorite eras of film, just because the way that they were shot and the way, I don't know what was in the air, whether it was the lights that they were using, the film stock quality, but the 80s to the 90s, there was just this transition that the 90s just have a look that I fucking love.
Well, I think too, like people like, it's kind of like the reemergence of like the 70s film, but like the 90s, they had their own thing because they had DVDs. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like we don't talk about the film, like the business of film, but like, like that was a huge thing. It's like, even if this movie doesn't make its money back, it's going to make its money back in DVDs because there's no internet searches. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to watch this. Blockbuster can get picked up. I've got a distribution deal with this. So that it's going to be in at least like 30,000 stores.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's going to make some money. And even if it doesn't make all of its money back, the 5 other ones that I made, one of those is going to hit big. 2 of those are going to make money back.
Because they're all circulating at the same time, going
and
through.
you're building an audience who was looking for your name.
Yeah, like, oh, that's a Miramax film? Oh,
yes, I was just going to say, and it's not like we don't do that today. I mean, I think there's a niche number, like you say, A24, people have a certain expectation. But I think growing up, I remember when I would see a certain, like when I saw an Orion logo or the Lion, like you were like, oh, but
MGM,
being a Star Wars kid, the Fox, when bam, 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 you hear the trumpets, like all of a sudden, like I'm fucking locked in. Like, holy shit, this is gonna be great.
And then you got to order like Searchlight.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. This is gonna be something different.
I have to return some videotapes.
Oh, I was just listening to a podcast about the making of that. So, what do you guys think about the performances individually? We've got some pretty small roles
Always a fan of Christopher Walken.
that are really elevated. You've got Christopher Walken, obviously.
He's one of the main ones, and what's his name? The guy
I'm gonna
who played
look up his
Casey
name.
Jones on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and then Viggo
Viggo
But
Mortensen.
Vigo,
is the devil.
man, holy cow.
Talk about coming on and stealing your 5 minutes. Like they gave him 5 minutes and he stole that shit.
Yeah.
Elias Koteas is the guy who played Thomas Daggett.
Elias Koteas. Yeah, he's an amazing actor, but you don't see enough of him anymore. You did back then, and he was amazing.
I did not recognize Catherine as Virginia Madsen.
Yeah,
I
she's so young, dude.
wow.
And,
Wow.
and they
Amanda-
had her like auburn hair instead of typical blonde.
But you've got Adam Goldberg. How old was he in this? Because
Oh, that'd be 20s.
I thought he was 20s. I thought he was 20s when he was in Harold and Kumar, 1970.
Harold.
So he would have been 25 at that point.
Wow. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it puts him mid-30s in Harold and Kumar, which is extra funny. Well, shit, guys. Anything else you have to add about the prophecy?
I mean, you got to see it. I love it, dude. It's
I think
a song of an era, the movie of an era. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And I think it's one of the things where I feel like the second one is actually even better. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like I feel
because they continue into the depths of Gabriel's woe.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, is why Gabriel's pissed off by God.
Yeah, they give you a little bit more depth in that character, and also like it's just you definitely can tell like they're able to do the things that they wanted to in the first one, and that's what like making movies.
A little more
like, I'm
budget,
gonna make
yeah.
this one so I can show what I got.
Terminator 2.
Back then,
Oh my
especially
God,
like
dude.
in the 80s,
Right?
yeah, they would just remake the movie as a sequel, but this is a story I wanted to tell, but didn't have
Terminator
the money
was
to tell.
such a low budget effort in comparison to Terminator 2 that you could see he was like, all right, I got fuck you money now. So
We're gonna jump a truck off a bridge.
But he still kept the thing. Like one of my, I always tell like people like if you want to like direct or if you're thinking about like how a script should go, just watch the first 5 minutes of both Terminators, and they both show just like the struggle of like how like the guy starts naked and how much trouble he has just to get by. He's being chased by the cops. And with the Terminator, no issues at all. He walks in, takes what he wants, gets out of there. His like scene is like 2 minutes. He got it, and he's being like his whole thing like when he first gets there just to get established is like 15-20 minutes of him just basically like trying to survive. And the same thing with the T-1000 versus the Liquid dude. What's his, what's his name?
Liquid is that's T-1000.
So
that's the T-1000.
T-100 against the...
yeah. And so it just shows like the difference in like their capabilities. You know what I mean? So like keeping that
real quick, you're shown like this is an advancement even the Terminator is going to be scared.
Yeah, the struggle is the same though between the hero and the anti-hero,
Right?
In both movies.
In the first 5 minutes, you're setting up like, hey, this guy's at a huge disadvantage right now, and I feel like we don't do that a lot in movies. We don't tell those kind of stories and those little subtle context clues. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Nowadays, especially in say like action flicks, it's all about learning through dialogue on the way between action, and there's no real build up of the story of the world. You jump right into high octane and
exactly. Like
tap into them.
The Hollywood model has you like they believe they have to have your attention by blowing something up or like something that's big and bombastic, and then the title scene, and then slow it down, and then introduce your character whistling, walking down the street, trying to get a coffee, and you're like a Transformers movie, like the big space, and it just takes you to school.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, okay, I mean, I guess Transfer's a bad example. It really does let you know the Earth's in danger. But my point being, like, they go for that big, wide-eyed excitement before, really introducing you to anything.
No, yeah. I mean, I think because back in the day, I feel like it used to be about films and not about the action and being like
right. It was the story.
Storytelling was
this is the tale that I'm going to take you on.
Build that world up,
right? I mean, just like way back when you had Once Upon a Time. And then the first paragraph sets you up with whatever prince or princess or fucking frog you're going to be following. Like, in the first few seconds, it's not 3 pages of the terrible king before you get to your hero or...
Yeah. You show them in settings and you know how they react. So you build like, oh, that's the type of person this is. He's in this situation. That's the type of person he is. He's in this situation. That's the type of person he is. And then you put him in a situation which forces him to grow. So now you already have a little idea of him. You know he's going to react a certain way. He messes it up. He comes back. He has his hero's journey.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then eventually, like through just sheer grit and determination, he figures it out.
Right. And we are along for the journey.
Everyone loves an underdog.
Mm-hmm. Which is
a recovery story, a redemption story, Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think the prophecy is an interesting play on this because it poses questions right away because it gives you something to think about with Eric Stoltz's character in the very opening.
And the detective character as announced
and then
priest.
Exactly, and then you find out that he's a cop.
So it gives them depth. It gives the world texture and scope. And
I was left with questions that for a long time I didn't have answered, but I was intrigued enough that every new scene, because it then showed us the book, depth, and then there's
like you felt connected.
Yes, you got a little bit of the war with the attack in the apartment that connects it to the. It's nice to just have the pieces build itself to then unleash Viggo Mortensen as the fucking devil.
Yeah. And even just like that decision to have him be like from a priest to a detective, you know what I mean? He's still fighting the evil just in a different way. So that never left him, even though he decided not to take that ultimate step. You know what I mean? So, I think little decisions like that make just amazing little movies.
I agree.
Yeah, that small detail where like he keeps like to keep happening upon his book that he wrote.
Yes,
immediately after leaving the priesthood, because they're like they can't publish stuff in the priesthood.
No, and you really don't know much about it other than like he took the time to do it. I don't know if it's explored in the second one,
it's not. No. Oh well, maybe I don't know. I don't remember it that well.
But it's not really explored in depth
in this.
No.
But that detail grabs you.
Is it a movie that you would recommend to somebody?
Oh, 100%. I think so. Like, it's just, would I recommend it to the average person? Would I recommend it to a filmmaker? Absolutely. You know what I mean? The hard part about recommending it to like your average audience, I think, is just, I don't think they would like understand the subtleties in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it is 30 years old. A lot of people just go like the pacing of the time is different than now. So like it would.
There's
really
a huge difference in pacing.
But
the pacing is what
I would definitely recommend it.
Really dragged it in for me. I would recommend it as well.
There's no accounting for taste.
I agree with Cory that I don't think everyone would enjoy it, but I definitely think that if you're a watcher like Seven or along those investigative, but the spiritual element was, while obviously ever present, because it's the battle of the angels, it wasn't like an uncomfortable, like it wasn't like a down your throat. It was just, these are the characters, this is the lore, this is the world you're in,
Yes.
and these are the rules. Let's
Right.
go.
Yeah. Storytelling 101.
You know,
Done well, yeah.
even though you spend the first
Enjoyable.
5 minutes in a church, you know, watching the indoctrination of, would they end up being bishops? I think they were.
No, they were becoming priests. Like full-fledged Orthodox Catholic priests.
Yeah, they had mentioned it at one point. Maybe just one of them was a bishop. Either way, they're being, they're taking an acceptance and a promise. Like it, you know, it could been that.
Yeah, I think they were being ordained by the bishop.
Fair enough.
That's what the big fancy hat was.
Yeah, it's a moot point.
You asked. I'm just telling you.
They're being indoctrinated.
Because
They're
you don't
in.
like the answer.
So I thought I'm trying to get back to my point.
I would definitely recommend the prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a little amendum to what I say. I would recommend it to people who like movies. You know what I mean? I think instead of just to filmmakers. I think like the people who really like movies and like really want the slow burns and really like watch the movies for like to learn something new or to gain a new perspective or to feel a certain way.
The
Like
friend that you know likes reading books. This is a movie you could.
oh yeah, especially if like one of the things they do is like angels and demons. You know what I mean? If you're into that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta watch The Prophecy, man. 'Cause
Yeah, for sure.
that's one of my favorite, I think, like little dramas is like anytime like you get into the mindset of the angels, like we were talking about, like supernatural. You know, like I like supernatural. Lucifer, I thought was one of the good portrayals of
Lucifer's
like
good.
a devil may care kind of thing. So it gives like more complex to God hates the devil. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like that was his son. You know what I mean? That was his dude. Like that was his right hand man. And then he created somebody else. You got like he's like, oh, these guys are great. Look at these things. They're humans. They're better than you. And
Yeah.
he's like, what? What? I will burn this place to the ground. Like,
The ultimate story
I'll
of
have to give
jealousy.
Lucifer a shot. I hear a lot about it, but I never caught on.
it's cheeky.
Yeah, it's a good.
I'm okay with it. I like Supernatural.
detective sitcom. You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. 40-minute episodes or 20-minute episodes?
Oh man, I think like they're 40.
I think they're 40.
But
Yeah,
they're
probably
and
40.
they got picked up by Netflix and finished by Netflix, which I always enjoy when Netflix finishes films. You know what I mean?
Sure, especially ones that there's like a strong fan base, and you're like, why didn't they just
Series, yeah.
close it off?
Yeah, they did that with the show called The Magicians, which I thought was really, really cool. It's basically it's like a dirty Harry Potter. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool. It was really cool.
it was all right.
Yeah, but Netflix finished that, and then
I'm not a fan of the cliffhanger endings. So
yeah.
Well, if I, because I'm typically
watch
always
3 more episodes
I'm
to get one
typically
answer.
always behind. So I like the serialized nature of shows now, but I'm still bitter from HBO's Carnival, which was a great show.
So good.
But canceled, and it was the first 2 seasons were building up to something that you're like, oh man, where is this going? And then it just fucking ends. And it's like, if they'd have just let them know they were going to cancel them, and they could have just given me a 4-episode wrap up, so I don't have all these. So when you hear about a show that did well, and then they're like, yeah, but unfortunately it got canceled. My question is always, but did they have closure? Because I can't just watch something that I end up investing however many
If it made it
hours
3
into.
seasons, and at the end of season 3, there's no untied bows. I'm like, we're good.
That's
we're
fine.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't watch a lot of like TV first season. Like I really don't, unless like there's something I'm like I gotta watch that. Like especially with HBO because they're notorious for like bye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Netflix is pretty notorious for either 1 season out and 3 season. They've got like a 3-season cap for a lot of their originals. They become inundated lately.
But to his point, they also save other shows that have almost died.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
it's
they
weird.
will like finish it or at least wrap it up. Like they're like, okay, this is not doing so well. So they really, I think they do for the most part give their fan base like a wrap up. But it's always sometimes a little rush. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, that was Bloodline.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Like, at least for like wrapping it up and never seeing it because I invested all this time. You know what I mean?
If you've not watched Bloodline, highly recommend it. On tone with like the investigative type thing here. Not so much.
I just
Crazy
rewatched
Devil.
it, and
great.
it just
3
pisses me
seasons.
off.
Yeah.
But the writer's arc, the show's arc, was a 5-season arc. But
So
they had
season
the
3 pisses
heads
you off,
heads
'cause
up that I was talking about. So they were like, okay, well, we can't just do our original season 3. So they smushed season 3 through 5 into 8 or 10 episodes, and so it feels a bit rushed. And while that mildly upsets you when you learn that's because otherwise you'd have been missing out on and it was another one of those things where each episode builds you with more information. You thought you knew something and then something else comes to light. So if it just ended, we'd have lost our fucking minds.
Yeah.
Because it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was very well done. But the change of pace, I hated it.
So
I'm glad to have the answers, I guess, but
tonight we are going to be talking about movies that are centric in martial arts. Cory, you brought us this topic, which is a great topic. Tell us a little bit about what brought you here.
To this? Well, I think it's just like, man, what could I actually talk about? And I just always have loved martial arts movies. Like, I just remember as a kid, that was one of the things that I think I identified probably with like the most. Like, I can still do the splits now because of Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know what I mean? I joined the
good
army.
for you. I cannot.
I joined the army because of, like Jean-Claude Van Damme and his portrayal of soldiers. And soldiers, like in the movies, like, oh, soldiers are cool. They fight for America. America's awesome. And
Right.
Yeah,
we won't get into the rest of how
action movies, and especially martial arts or military-based action movies, was a big way of how me and my father bonded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was that and like building stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're not sports people, so.
Right, yeah, and I wasn't like, I played sports, but I hated watching them. But yeah, that was the thing too. Like we could watch martial arts movies, and then when I got older, I actually studied martial arts and stuff like that. So then it became a little bit more of a thing for me. But I don't know. I just always liked it. You know what I mean? And there was so many different ways for martial artists to be martial artists. You know what I mean?
So many different forms, yeah.
Oh, different forms and just different people. You had the ultimate badass, and then you had like the guy that's like, I'm not supposed to be here today, kind of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, growing up, I had a little bit more of a narrow area of what movies I could watch. So there was a lot of movies that were from the 80s and 90s that were heavy in violence, R-rated and whatever, that I didn't see until I was 17 and older and starting to get caught up.
You're still playing catch up on some.
I'm still playing catch up. I just watched Point Break for the first time last week. And
What?
yeah, dude.
Let's hear it for Brad. He finally popped his Peaceways cherry.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's definitely not my Peaceways
No,
cherry.
that's the male version of Dirty Dancing for Peaceways. That's kind of what I'm going.
But so there's titles that fell way behind on. So and then once I got a little older, is you're just overwhelmed that you have to choose a time, right? Like, okay, now I'm gonna make the effort to watch this, get caught up on JCV and anything else that I can, or JVC, Jean-Claude. Yeah, I was ready for JCV. Van Damme, JCVD, whatever. Whatever.
Did you guys try to watch that show he had on Netflix?
I did. I watched it for like 30 minutes. And I was like, no.
So bad.
Yeah. But it's also like anytime I feel like Steven
it was
Seagal
supposed to
comes
Oh
in,
yeah,
I'm
Seagal's
just
another
like,
one.
No, guy. So
I'll give it to him. Like, it was supposed to be cheesy, but it was
The best
awful.
thing I ever saw Steven Seagal in was Executive Decision, which had his name all over it, and it was a movie. Are you familiar with it?
It was my favorite.
The
'cause he
plane
died
comes
right
in,
away.
and in less than 5 minutes, it becomes Kurt Russell's movie, and I was like,
He sacrificed himself. Yeah.
win.
What? You mean it's Kurt Russell and John Leguizamo? And
Yes.
It was awesome.
Yes.
you got to give it up though. Like Under Siege and Under Siege 2.
He
Like,
had his
Under
day.
Siege
He had his
2
day,
was
dude.
amazing. Oh, what was it? The Glimmer Man with him and was it Marlon Wayans or Damon Wayans?
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that movie.
Oh, it's definitely Damon.
Yeah, it was Damon. Yeah, and
No.
they took him to the Chinese shop and he had him put some powdered deer penis in it. It was like one of the first. it was a precursor to Rush Hour, man. Like it was funny.
Oh, I mean,
And then he did
what was the one with
Exit Wounds with him and DMX?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh
And
God.
Tom
We're
Arnold.
talking.
Yep.
If we're talking Damon Wayans, though, he did a great one with Adam Sandler.
That's what I was thinking of. Were
Yeah.
they chained together?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. God, what was that?
Bullet. Bulletproof?
Yeah, Bulletproof.
Bulletproof,
yeah.
and then what was one of the Baldwin brothers, right?
Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah, Stephen Baldwin. Yeah, that was a great movie. Yeah.
So good.
All right, so excuse me. Sorry, Stephen Baldwin does that to me. So let's get started
We're
on our
still in
list
the
tonight.
90s, guys. We have not left the 90s.
So
Will we ever?
we're gonna start our list out. We each take turns choosing 4 individual titles, bringing our total tonight to 12. At the end of the night, we will roll a die, and hopefully one of the movies that are on our list is available for streaming or rental somewhere, so we can watch it next week and kind of give it a fresh watch. Cory, we tend to offer the first pick of the evening to our guests. Are you okay with that, or would you like one of us to break the ice?
Dang. Okay. Man.
So we don't rank anything, so the order doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not favorites. We're not, no
right.
numbers.
So I think it's so hard to choose because, like, I'm gonna.
How
go
big of a
for it.
list did you bring today? I'm curious.
Oh, I think I've got 12 myself.
So, hey, winner.
I've got
We
12,
always have
yep.
bigger lists. So, just so you know, at the end, we have a brief discussion regarding ones that didn't make it. So,
Honorable mentions.
yeah,
Well,
a little less breathy about it, a little quicker, kind of a speed round. But you should be able to talk about everything you got on your list.
Yeah, I mean, all right, let's talk about it. Equilibrium.
Ah, you motherfucker.
okay, and that's
All right, good. Well, you know what? That makes me feel good. 'Cause
Christian
I know,
Bale, right?
I know,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Nice.
Yes. So tell us about Equilibrium.
Oh, so Equilibrium takes place in this like advanced society where they've decided to give up emotions, and so basically, Christian Bale is like an enforcer samurai, and he's got these 2 guns, and they have this gun kata. And
Gun
the way-
kata.
Yeah, and the way they move and shoot, it's basically just like a precursor to the Matrix. I think it was actually out around the same time.
2002, it actually came out after.
Yeah, but it was just like I think it was that itch. That's what it was. It's that itch that we all needed scratched after the Matrix.
If I remember correctly, though, I think it was like scheduled to release, and they pushed it because the Matrix was so
It's
famous.
very
actually
possible.
Dark City.
That was Dark City. Okay, I
was
knew there
Dark
was
City.
a movie.
Yeah,
okay,
so that was actually
cool.
Dark
Yep.
City.
All right.
But yeah, so he is charged with basically like wiping out things like color, wiping out things
Anything
like
that
painting.
incites emotion.
Yeah, and it's just the way it's done is just so good. Like it's very futuristic, but it wasn't a huge budget
Yeah,
film.
they do it through
So,
like a drugging.
The
and he
budget
starts
estimated is
holding- yeah, it's a
$20
great
million.
movie.
And back then, that wasn't a lot.
No, but it is a hell of a lot more than the $1.2 million it grossed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I think that's another one. Like, I don't know if I'm just one of the only ones. I think how much has it grossed like DVD sales? We're talking
So
DVD sales.
gross
Right, yeah,
gross
I'm
worldwide is 5.3 million. So
Still
now
not
this
made
probably
money.
doesn't list like, I mean, at this point it's probably a title that gets bought and sold between distributors, and someone's, it was probably written
Yeah.
off as a loss.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like that, but I love the fucking movie.
I love it too.
I thought it was one of his best
Win.
films.
It was a win in
awesome,
my book for sure.
For me, it was the best version of Fahrenheit 451 that's ever been brought to film.
That's fair. That's well said, dude.
Because
Well said.
like ultimately his character does get to that point where he questions what he's doing, because in order to, I don't remember if you mentioned this specifically, in order to trump and hold back their emotions, they take pills that basically deaden themselves, and he starts to, and you're watched always, so like they can see you through your mirror, and so somehow he is able to drop and not take a particular dosage and feels guilty about it
yeah,
as
yeah,
he starts
I've
to
seen-
begin
I love it. Yeah,
touching
Great.
and feeling, and that ultimately is like that little motivator, that you mentioned, that gets that story rolling, and it's just fucking fabulous. The writer-director created gun kata in his backyard for this movie.
That's awesome.
And it works so well. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like, it's so perfect. You know what I mean? Like the way the things that people move, it feels like a kata. It feels like it's useful. Like it really just.
It made sense watching them fight that way, because you could see
it
that.
did. Yeah, it felt.
You know, the form that was there. It was less chaotic than a normal gunfight when two, like watching a competitive martial arts match. There's like, or a sword fight, you know, where you can see
the tactic.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, I'm not going to attack, I'm going to defend, or
It's like gun samurais because they had the sword, they had the code, they had the way of life, they had the thing they defended. And I think like it's just like, it's a thing about, you know what I mean, how useful emotions are, you know what I mean? And I think it had something to say, and I think like a lot of sometimes martial arts films get accused of not having a lot to say, and I feel like that's, you know, I think that's a farce, especially back in the day. It's like these were, you know, people that use this as a tool to express themselves, express their ideas, and to shape the world as they saw fit.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that laid well to what the story in that movie was doing, because it's an art, right? It's a bodily art form. And so that's the irony, that they all study this art form in a malicious, non-emotional way, but at the same time, it's an art form while they erase art. Because it could have been done with just regular gunfighting or regular police brutality or any other method of invoking violence upon citizenship, but it was done in this very unique artistic fighting style that I think it's amazing to put that much detail in a movie that, you know, I mean, arguably tanked, right?
Sure.
But I think it's overlooked, and I
definitely found the people who appreciate it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe that's not enough people. But it is a lovely noir. I love the grandioseness of the lighting and
it was like heavily overexposed in so many areas. The different whites and then the silver. It was just devoid of all kinds of color. Their outfits were colorless.
It was beautifully done.
The homeless
cinematography was
there was like a homeless or a ghetto area at some point, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things. Like, they basically what they do is they raid these places. You know what I mean?
Looking for comic books or
art, paintings, puppies,
music. Puppies,
yeah, literally. Like, so that's one of the things. Like, after you stop taking it, like the thing
anything that makes you feel.
That's right.
You're not allowed to have anything that makes you feel. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
so I think we talked too much more. We might spoil some of it, but I definitely second that recommendation. Find Equilibrium and watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, I always ask you to go next, and then you always want me to go, so I'm going to go next today.
Okay, that doesn't matter.
I am going to go with 1993's Only the Strong. Only the Strong stars Mark Dukakis, who is probably best known to modern audiences as the host of one of those cooking shows. I always forget which one. It was one of the bigger ones.
Oh, yeah. You see him every now and again.
Yeah. It's not on the top. I can't just quickly... Is it Iron Chef or something? One of those really big cooking shows. He's the host.
Iron Chef.
But he is a award-winning martial artist, and in Only the Strong... he does capoeira, which is the
banana way.
Yeah, Cory!
Banana way. Yeah, I remember that movie. I love that movie.
Basically, like The Substitute.
So I was gonna say it is a riff on a half a dozen of the different movies from the 90s. That was the teacher that comes into the rough neighborhood and gets them scallywags into shape, but he's a returned like Marine or Navy SEAL, Green Beret. Yep, you're right.
Kickboxer,
and he does the Brazilian art dance fight of capoeira, and he goes to war with the local Brazilian gangs or the Puerto Rican gangs. I forget if there's multiple, but who's one of his students is really. It's formulaic, but a couple things I really like about it. One, it's pure 90s. The soundtrack is amazing because it really does blend. Because one of the things I loved about capoeira, and it's very hard to find in schools, or at least it was when I was younger. There's only one place I could go. I did like a week, and it fucked me up because it's all legs. Real quick brief history, because I think it's super fascinating, and a lot of people don't know about this form. So it was formed in Brazil around Rio de Janeiro by slaves who were always tied at the arms and convinced their owners, their slavers, to allow them to dance. that was the only way that they could, be freedom. They played music and they danced. But what they were really doing was training themselves to kick the slavers' asses. And that's where capoeira came from. So it's rooted a lot in song and instrumentation. Yes. So the berimbau, it's just, but as a child who I was probably 12, 13, and I was taking a Korean form of martial arts, this was just, I was like,
oh, yeah, dude, those kicks, like, oh my God, I don't know how many times I've like twisted my ankle trying to do that little...
And just his body form, like immediately as a kid, I was like, no, how do I look? I got to kick like that to look like that. That's what I got to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have an empty warehouse to go do fucking
on a dime.
But I loved it, man.
Was it a warehouse or it was a fire station, right?
Fire station, yes. Because there was like a Flashdance montage, wasn't there? Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, man. That one was so
gotta have a montage.
So monumental to me. It just made a huge impact. I'll never forget it. And honestly, to be able to know that someone else is seeing it, in the room is kiss for me.
I love that movie, Gron, dude. Great choice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So I'm going to go into one that I believe hosts that form of Korean martial arts that you're talking about, because it has Chuck Norris. He does the sidekicks.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
Because the minute you said it, I was like, I didn't have sidekicks on my list. How could I?
Yes. So an otherwise rejected or ignored boy, Jonathan Brandis, creates a fantasy pal, Chuck Norris, from his martial arts.
I forgot that he
hero.
was a fantasy.
And yeah, dude, just...
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing because it shows you the power of imagination. You know what I mean? It really does. It's brilliant. And it like... I don't know. I was kind of a dejected kid. You know what I mean? My parents were always busy. They did their best.
I remember relating to the movie a lot.
Yeah, it was very well put together that way. And I don't know, the bad guy that was the badass was just laughable. You know what I mean? So the good guys were the actual badasses.
I've got the trailer playing here in front of me, and I didn't realize how much was in his imagination, because there's like huge epic action sequences that
was him just daydreaming.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was telling earlier about, like, I feel like that's how I should have known that I wanted to be a filmmaker, because like we'd be driving for hours and I'd be like running in my backyard, hopping over fences, kicking you in the face. You know what I mean? I'm like, how did I never put that together that I should have just made movies? You know what I mean? Like, why was it smoking weed with my friends in college to decide that you should make a movie? You know what I mean?
I'm still smoking weed with my friends. Making movies, y'all.
We're living the childhood dreams. We are living our childhood dreams.
Right? So that is one of the things that when people get a little crabby on set, like, first off, we need to respect our rights. I'm not saying that. Never allow yourself to be abused. But sometimes the worst day on set is still the greatest fucking day, because you're fucking on set, man. You're making a movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys play guns as kids? Do you remember?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got paid a couple $100 to play guns.
Dude, today. So we would, my brother and I got into...
I got paid almost $1,000 to make like a Star Trek kind of thing today. Like
right.
Green screen tabletop kind of, like, it was so much fun.
My brother and I got right around this time in the 90s. There were these toys called Spy Tech. Do you guys remember Spy Tech?
Do you remember them?
So they were, for those who don't know, Spy Tech are toys you get like Periscope or Secret Service watches. Like, they were all just like tools that were like way over the top.
Like little booby traps you could
James
hook
Bond, like whatever's. So and we would hide in the bushes outside the house and like just spy on the neighborhood. And this one time, our neighbors across the street were having their driveway and their sidewalk redone. And the construction workers who were tearing up the sidewalk and throwing it all away had seen us. These motherfuckers threw concrete at 9 and 10-year-old boys that were watching them with the Periscope. Yes, hit my brother in the forehead, myself in the hand, and yeah.
What kind of illegal activity were they up to?
It used to be real rough out here.
They were
used to have to
willing
drink from
to
water
create.
hoses.
So when you got to watch a movie like Sidekicks, I was like, fuck yeah.
Willing to throw concrete.
And I was a huge Chuck Norris fan because I knew Chuck Norris, but didn't
knew
watch
of
the
them,
movies. So this was an
Walker,
accessible.
Texas Ranger.
This was well, eventually, yeah.
No,
but this was accessible for me, and I was like, "Holy shit! I get to watch a Chuck Norris movie."
Very family friendly oriented. Yeah, PG. Yep.
Yeah, I think that movie's all about manifestation.
Was that 1992?
92.
Yeah, that. I mean, it was. Yeah, it was excellent.
All right,
Great
Cory.
martial arts.
Oh, it's my turn. I'm actually gonna Google this real quick.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's been a while. I'm slipping up. No, I'm slipping up. You're right. We've been at it a while. It is time for a pee break. We are going to come back. When we come back, we are going to pick up with Cory's next pick. And just to cap off where we started tonight, Cory broke the seal with Equilibrium. Only the Strong was my recommendation, and Joe just gave us Sidekicks. So yes, we are going to take a quick break. We will see you in just a moment.
I want to participate.
Crack it. Hell yeah.
Baby.
Welcome back, everybody. So I went over the list as it stands before break, so I'm not going to bore us with that. So that brings us to Cory. Cory, what is your next recommendation for us this evening?
All right, so I'm going to go with a film, probably not so well known, but with an amazing director, one of James Wong's first, The One.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping somebody brought this one up. I love it.
So I'll read it for you. A rogue multiverse agent goes on a manhunt for alternate
universes.
Verse universe of himself, getting stronger with each kill. Only the last version of himself, an LASD cop, can stop his crusade before he becomes the one. So I think, I always feel like in martial arts, I always loved, comic book movies, and I feel like we never got enough, superhero movies, because, we grew up with, the best cartoons, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
We had Dragon Ball Z, we had Batman, which was amazing at the time. X-Men was amazing.
Animated series,
and the movies just never really were up to par when we were coming. So any time where you could get these, even animes were very, it wasn't as popular as they are now. So anytime you get these,
harder to find too. We didn't have the widespread internet. Even when the internet was a baby, we didn't have all this.
No, we had Flash things that if it loaded.
But I think it's just a great movie, and Jet Li was just probably one of the prominent stars. You had Jet Li, you had Jason Statham, and then you had Chow Yun-fat.
Delroy Lindo.
Yes, Chow Yun-fat.
My boy Delroy Lindo.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
Jason Statham is actually in this one too.
I said Jason Statham.
Oh, don't yell at me.
No, I'm just agreeing with you, baby.
Yeah. Well, he was saying of the era, you had the Jackie Chans, you had the Jet Lis, you had the Chow Yun-fats. There was the Chinese filmmakers were making that move over, post Bruce Lee, and Jackie Chan was actually I don't remember if he worked with Bruce Lee, but he was the very next best thing out of China after the passing of Bruce Lee. It then became the Jackie Chan show when it comes to
especially Chinese movies.
The way they make movies over there,
many, dude. Yeah.
We have no right to complain
Jackie
with the
Chan
shit that they have.
Hundreds of movies before he came over here.
They work
the Bronx,
they work so many hours over there. They're like genie teams. They're standby teams. The people that come in, do their shit, and then stand by while things are filming. Work so many hours that I forget which actor had gone over there and made this comment, but they sleep. They stand.
Alexander Wraith, the director.
Man.
Yeah, so he went and he was talking this. I remember this story because he told it again when we were in California to my other G&E team. You were there one day for. So he went to and filmed a movie in Korea, right? So an action film in Korea, and they film 20 hours a day. Yeah, and the G&E, when they say, okay, going up, they just kind of, the crew just kind of sits back and falls asleep. Yeah. And then when they say cut, they go back to work and get everything,
Yeah. But they
sleeping with cigarettes in their mouths and shit. That's what
artists oh, gosh. I hate it. Mission Impossible 2. I was just thinking about him earlier because I was going to put one of his movies on the list. God damn it! But
Tom Cruise.
No, the director, Hard Boiled.
Hard boiled.
Face Off.
Face Off.
No, man.
Oh shit, man.
John Woo.
John Woo. Thank you, Joe.
thank you.
Thank you. You know about some of his movies, but if you really look, they've got like 10 movies a year. They're pop, 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 because they just fire them off. And so it's just a difference of more of a corporate working environment over there that is absolutely different from.
I don't know. That's how the indie market be popping them off in Detroit.
I mean, I think it's. I think it's also like a work ethic of the Chinese people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that. I think it's just a difference. Like over there, it's like, this is anything that's prosperous for us is prosperous for the country. You know,
right.
Kind of mindset there.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's just that amount of respect and the amount of like, I am somebody because I get to make these things and I get to make them. You know what I mean? At that level, I think is absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? But yeah, they turned him out for so long, and a lot of things with like Jackie Chan. When Jackie Chan got his clout in America, he would basically take a lot of his movies that he wasn't happy with that he made in China and
remake them.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think this film is just phenomenal. I mean, it's great.
The one
action.
is amazing. Yeah.
It's great wire work. It's great.
And talk about embracing the multiverse before it was.
Before it was cool.
And they did it so well too. Like
they did it amazingly. Yeah.
This was one that I think came up on a past episode.
At the end, the King of the Mountain thing.
I am Ulan. I am no one's bitch.
The prison planet. Yeah, dude.
I really need to put this up in priority on a watch because this was one that I have not seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right. Hey, I will just say this. I've never seen The Godfather all the way through.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, so I don't want you to feel like you're getting picked on a lot. But
What about Godfather 2, though?
see, no. Man. Like,
Obviously, that's a tall order.
but I have seen Goodfellas, so that counts.
That does count. That's a fabulous movie. All right.
Your turn, Bradford.
So I am getting nervous, so now I'm just going to move up some stuff.
Pick one.
Cool. Good. I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to go with Kill Bill Volume 1.
Oh, thank God. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Right,
Kill
take
Bill
that off
Volume
my
1.
list. Yeah, I didn't want to.
So for me, like I said, the martial art film like genre is one that at one point in my life there was just so much of it happening that I just became inundated and didn't. But I've always been a Quentin Tarantino fan, and Kill Bill, by the time it came out, had been lore for a long time, and we were just ready for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's something about Quentin Tarantino where the guy's made 9 movies, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he's super prolific, and he always finds a way to bring something new, but appreciative to the things because he is a fan of film. He loves movies. That's a charger for you.
Oh no, you're good. I was actually trying to.
Sure.
So I was reading a book about him and stuff like that, and kind of how he became a film and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he had parents, for a long time, and they were together for a long time, and they loved film. And so they would just take him, and then they would sit in the car, and they're like, "You can come as long as you're an adult about this." You know what I mean? Like we were talking about Orson Welles offline. But he was like, so I got to sit in all these theaters, and then so when his mom and dad divorced, she actually was like exclusively because where she was at, she was into dating like black guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So and then he took him to see like all the blaxploitation films.
Right.
You know
Opened up his eyes to what else was out there.
Yeah, and so you can definitely see like, you've got these like auteur films, and then you've got these like heavily blaxploitation films.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was really interesting to see how his upbringing, and it kind of made me think and appreciate him a little bit more.
Yeah.
How he sees film.
Yeah, and how he influenced him as a director. Yeah, that's awesome.
And with Kill Bill, if you're not familiar, Kill Bill's titular character is the bride. We don't really get a name from her. It's a 2-part movie, so there's a Volume 1 and a Volume 2. I chose Volume 1 because I feel that Volume 1 has, even though our main character, the bride, is a martial artist and a samurai, sword fighter, but the film style of 1 but leans more heavily into the influence of the kung fu films and the Chinese
definitely.
films. And you've got like the what's her name, Ira Ishii character with the anime.
Rin Ishii.
Rin Ishii with her storytelling, and then the epic battle in the end with her character and the Crazy Eights, where it just. Even to the point where like it got so violent that he chose to do it black and white.
He had to do black and white
because
or
of the amount of
NC-17
blood.
for blood. Yeah.
So it's an artistic masterpiece of evolution from where he started with Reservoir Dogs to this, like the music, Ennio Morricone's score.
Yeah.
Oh, the pacing.
Yes.
Cuts, like the
silence.
zoom-ins,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
The number of times you sit in silence, and it's just, and then David Carradine, it's just.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
magnificent.
It is,
and it's
it is.
definitely a movie that you do need to see both parts. But for our list, Kill Bill Volume 1 is a standalone fucking classic.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, you see the second one to get closure on the story, but all the gold is in the first one. You know what I mean? It's still great. The second one's still good.
Which is why I wish it was
needed.
released
It's
as one
necessary.
movie.
Sure.
Because I
Yes,
feel as a
I agree.
continuous watch, you don't lose that momentum that the first one kind of brings.
Yeah, when I
to that
rewatch, I
shift
watch them back to back
into
now.
more of like I wouldn't call it film noirish, but it's not exactly Western either. But there's some sort of marriage between
it goes
the
into
two.
a bit of the spaghetti Western style of kung fu, which I will touch on now.
All right, Joe. Well done. Transitions.
So, Kung Pao.
I knew you were
Anybody?
gonna put that one. The minute you said it, I knew. I was like, motherfucker.
So, if you've not heard of Kung Pao,
This is why I rely on you guys.
writer-director Steve Odekirk. It's like O-E-D-E-D-E-R.
I'm glad I'm the only one who doesn't read really good.
I read fine. This name is an atrocity. Sorry, sir. Anyways, acquired the little-known 1976 Hong Kong karate flick Savage Killers, then seamlessly blended portions of the film with new material that he had directed to create a wild, off-the-wall comedy feature film.
I did not know that's so. I've not seen this, but
Stars
it
in-
looks so silly that it was just one of those. Do I have time for this? Watches.
So Odekirk wrote, directed, and stars in Enter the Fist, placing himself digitally into the old film, redubbing the characters as well as shooting new scenes. And it's just off-the-wall ridiculousness, but just the best, in the best way.
That one for me is a little bit harder of a watch. I've always had.
It's rough.
It is a little bit harder of a watch for me. But the elements of it's kind of like it's like scary movies for kung fu movies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's like making fun of them while keeping true at the same time.
Yes,
The martial
it's a
arts is
total tongue-in-cheek
yeah.
and just slapstick, like fucking kung fu spaghetti western, but like
Interesting.
two like Pootie Tang style of, if we're talking about blaxploitation, where
Yeah,
Pootie
right.
Tang is like this isn't actual slang. It's so ridiculous. It's over the top
Yeah.
to the extreme.
The
This
chain
is that
smoking
movie.
lady just
Yeah.
See, like I've
So, like,
seen,
Kung
I've seen
Fu-
moments like that makes sense to me. She's like the landlord or something, or like the.
Well, that's Kung Fu Hustle, which is
also,
on my list. But this, this is
they're the same thing. They're
this
the
was
same
in that movie. It was in this movie and referenced in Kung Fu Hustle that came
Yeah.
out later,
Yeah.
right? And like they made a whole character out of this lady because of this parody.
interesting.
So it is a parody film, but it is just as it says. He takes an actual old kung fu film from the 70s,
That part right there is fascinating to me. I had no idea that
and
that's
he
what it was, and
only
just splice it
reshoots
in.
the stuff with him in it, and then he splices also himself into some of the scenes with some, old school, like, side-by-side film,
I'm gonna rewatch that one.
It's so...
rewatch
When
that
you
one.
know how he did it, that's what makes it so immersive and amazing. You're like, how did he... It looks like... He looks like he's in, like, ancient China being a fool, right? Like at one point, his tongue has a face. Like
Yes, yeah, I remember seeing that too.
That's the iconic
Yeah, there are a lot of
thing
moments I remember from the damn movie, but I don't think maybe it was
This was
like a house
2002.
party or something it was on, so I wasn't fully vested into it.
Yeah, there might have been some other things at play. I'm actually
Distractions.
I'm down to watch that one. I would.
It did earn a sequel, Kung Pao 2, Tongue of Fury.
Interesting.
All right, I'll watch the first one.
I've not seen
when I
that.
watch the second one.
Yeah,
I've
listen,
not
not
seen
yet.
it.
I don't have time for all those shenanigans. We're watching the first one. So yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't have anything else to add to it. Cory, if you don't have anything to add to Kung Pao, it is your turn.
Oh man! All right, so I think we kind of got the obscure, and I think I want to because one of the biggest things about martial arts films is just the martial arts itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is such a character. So I want to start getting into some of that and some of the way things are portrayed and some of the culture. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Wonderful.
Okay, yeah. See, this is one that I mentioned right earlier. Did not go on my list because I was almost positive it was going to be mentioned.
100%.
Yeah. And I've not seen it. I worked at the movie theater when it came out. I knew what a hit it was. Because it was such a hit, it wasn't one that we could just slip into and watch other than on our 15-minute break. And who wants to watch 15 minutes of...
You can't watch
2 hour,
15 minutes of that.
And
dude.
then, I just never came back to it. I don't avoid it. I want to see it. I've just not set aside the time to watch that one yet. So tell me about Crouching Tiger.
So I would say Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is America's Gone with the Wind for kung fu movies.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is why it didn't make my list because I wouldn't put it in action.
Here's
Just
the
because
thing.
it has martial arts. It was more of a romance.
It's a romance, but it's also a story of Chinese culture. It's a story, so it's a love story,
It is,
basically.
yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? But it's
And I love
also,
the movie.
Yeah, it tells the story through these two martial art. Well, there's two martial artists, Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun Fat, and so her husband died, and that was his best friend, died in the war. And they've always loved each other after that, and they grew closer because of that. But because that was his best friend, he's that's my homie. Sorry, you know what I mean. But they both love each other.
I swore to protect you for him.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and so it tells
forbidden love.
the story of this young pupil that this aging kung fu master, who is regarded as the most prestigious warrior that has ever existed in China, finally finds a pupil who is a thief. So it's, and she has her own little love story too, and her own.
Yeah, that's the younger one.
Yeah, the younger one.
Yeah.
So she betrayed I don't want to get too much into it without giving it away, but.
Yeah, we only do spoilers for the opener.
Yeah. The philosophy behind it is just, very rooted in traditional kung fu. You know what I mean? It's the walking on air, the becoming so aware of your surroundings that you could step on a falling leaf. You know what I mean? So
and that's what I was telling Joe a bit off air while we were waiting on your arrival with a lot of the kung fu style of films. And I recently learned that there's several different subgenres that they have, and I don't recall enough about it to make a conversation, but just know that it exists in the different ways that martial arts and so forth is portrayed, including, like you were talking about, the floating on air. There's this love in that style or genre of film where they make the impossible reality, the long jumps, the flips that don't make sense, where all the wire work came from,
all but flying
is part of that spiritual nature. Where if you get, the belief of if you get connected enough with this art form, like the Buddhist monks and everything, right? And so that was the fictional way of transposing that belief into film, which I find incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, and studying martial arts and stuff like that, there's a lot of things that you become to understand. So you would talk about what's called if you know anything about the actual original people who studied kung fu, they started off as monks, right?
Yes.
And then so I believe it's the Bodhidharma came in and he was trying to help them reach enlightenment, but they kept falling asleep. So he's well, I need to teach them this. So he taught them what's called I Ching Chi, which means tendon change form. So it's a different version of yoga. And so that's how it kind of started. And it's like that. And then they kept getting attacked. So they would bring in other people. They were like, hey, you come in, you know this style. Teach us this style. You can live with us, you know, because they had food, they had respect. They were basically seen as like the shamans of the town, the province, you know what I mean? And they kept doing that. They were the first original mixed martial artist.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So that's how they continued.
They were taking veterans and warriors and mercenaries and anybody.
If you
could teach them how to fight and needed some kind of
or a different
salvation.
style, which is why Kung Fu had so many different styles, and that's why, you know, a lot of it is about what's your style, what do you do, what's this, and then
and it's also kind of why Kung Fu is the ultimate style because it's so adaptive.
And then when I believe it's when the
Huns.
Yeah, the Huns. Yes, the Huns attacked. They lost a fifth of their style because they had 5 grandmasters, and so each one of them had 20% of the style. Because no person could know the entire breadth of that knowledge that has been gained over thousands of years.
Right.
So yeah, when the Huns came, they lost a fifth of their knowledge right there. So like the traditional Kung Fu now is only a 20% of what the style used to be. And then, you know what I mean? You got to think about these guys. So what they would do this, like, so the I Chin Chi, you would basically breathe in for 49 seconds. You would hold for 49 seconds and you would let go for 49 seconds with your breath while holding these tension poses. So imagine your muscles, imagine being tense. And then every time you did this, you would tense tighter. And they would do this for 8 hours a day. Then they would go and learn their spiritual side on top of that. So that allowed them to develop the discipline. It allowed them to develop the strength. So back in the day, they were the bodybuilders because nobody was working out back in the day other than like,
complete and utter devotion to your faith.
Yeah, so these guys were mythological heroes.
This is above self-defense.
No,
it was an art. It wasn't. It was above an art form. It was a lifestyle.
Yeah, because you wanted to be one.
There could be an argument made where that feeling oneness that they were feeling was just lack of oxygen slowly killing them and putting them in
their brain leaching dopamine and stuff.
They were just on a runner's high.
They were getting natural hits of DMT. Like they're like, no, you're dying. Your brain's giving you DMT. That's how much.
That breathing control is so important in a lot of the different styles that I've either studied or casually looked into. Like it just comes across in all forms of working out, really. Like you can't lift weights without proper breath control. You should not lift weights without proper breath control.
Well, so like my sensei always put it like this, like you can live 30 days without food. You can live 7 days without water. You can live 2 minutes without oxygen. So why aren't you breathing? You know what I mean? Like, and we should, you know what I mean? And to the point where sometimes like we're on some of these sets and I'm like, motherfucker.
Yes. Dude,
just take a breath.
The step aside is so important.
Take a breath.
We're going to have this conversation after I step aside.
So Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, great choice. Bradford?
I respect the culture choices. I don't have culture choices. And in fact, most of my choices here are co-opting the culture anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and fall on that sword and keep that going.
Ride or die, baby.
I loved this year's Monkey Man.
I have not watched it yet. Yeah.
I walked out of that movie.
Did you really?
I walked out of that movie.
At what point?
I think I was about like when they were in the jungle.
Okay.
When they're in the jungle, I was
I understand. So
watching that trailer, I had a feeling. I was like, do I really?
So here's the thing. That I assumed that was going to be the spot that you had said.
Yeah.
Because there's like a real flow of the movie going into there, and then the movie like left turns.
Yeah.
That scene and that scenario is about 15 minutes, and then it goes back and becomes the most badass fucking 20-minute action sequence that I've ever seen laid on film that was glorious. It was so like you gotten through the point where they at least nodded that they were like, okay, yeah, we're John Wick like. You know, there's a line where he goes to get a gun. He's like, you want the one from John Wick?
Yeah.
Straight up saying like, listen, y'all, we know, but sit tight. And man, the payoff. So Monkey Man, for those who did not see it or walked out.
Everyone else at the
table. Monkey Man is about a so it's written, directed, and stars Dev Patel. So it's very Indian centric in the entire storytelling of it, and the part that Cory had referenced, there's something happens. So the basic plot is he's a street kid. He makes his money street fighting, and he does like underground pit fights. And basically, he's paid to throw the fights, but he's a very, very capable fighter. He dresses as the Monkey Man with a mask so that people don't really know who he is. And then he just goes and he's just like a busboy or just something like low level. But he has something within him that's alluded to later on. You're not given that first 5 minutes of his motivation because it's part of like finding out his motivation for wanting to just be in. So he's basically, it's him playing the long con, but he gets involved with organized crime, and it falls flat for him, and he ends up in this forest with what is accurate. So there's I don't have time right now to look it up, so just understand, listeners, that you can look it up yourself. The characters that he met with are very, they behave as if they're either trans or non-binary, but this is an actual belief in India. So I don't know if this is a specific religion, but these guys are like monks, and they revive him, and they give him this...
eunuchs?
They're similar to, like, it would be, if you were to take that into European culture, they would be very close to like eunuchs. Like
okay, all right.
But they live very, appearance of feminine lives, but they're not, they are what they are. And they're very respected in the Indian culture.
Okay, yeah.
But
I'm not aware of it.
They become a big part of the story at the end there. But ultimately, that's where you learn his backstory. So in his falling out, he's now in a quote unquote death sequence or whatever for a minute, and you learn what his motivation is. And now all the puzzle pieces that were given to you at that point are put together. And then he just goes on this revenge spree that is so gratifying and beautifully shot.
Well, that is a big staple for a good kung fu movie, is a nice revenge spree of revenge.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't feel, I guess I sometimes wanted it to feel a little more grounding, and I feel like the beginning, like the storytelling was a little sloppy for me. Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like it would have been great to see the payoff now that I'm like, all right, cool, I'll watch the next 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Just to see that payoff. Kind of wish I would have stayed. But it just, man, I feel like I don't have a lot of time anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I'm not like opposed to walking out on films.
No, sure. I get you.
And especially like I feel like I'm very picky when it comes to like these martial arts films, because like I pay attention to the culture. I pay attention to the actual action. To me, like the martial arts is important, and it just felt kind of like a subplot, and then the actual plot just felt very not well fleshed out. You know what I mean? I think like if you would say, and this is one on my list, but I don't want to call it, but like if you see like, I think Boy Kills World did it way.
So I wanted to see that one. I wanted to see that one a lot. And so I watched Monkey Man when I was in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So we had days off and we were like, fuck it, we're going to go see this movie. We saw that. We saw Civil War. But no one else wanted to go see Boy Kills World. Yeah. So I was going to do it when I got back. Yeah. And then by that time, I didn't have a chance. And it was out of theater. Boy Kills World only stayed in theater for 3 weeks, I think I read. Yeah. And it just it didn't do well, and it got dropped. And it's yet to be I'm going to look in a minute, but widely available on streaming. So I'm just waiting for my opportunity, because I thought the concept, the pitch, the trailer in that was dynamite. I could not wait to see that
It's
movie.
definitely like it's like Monkey Man meets Scott Pilgrim versus the World kind of.
That's what it kind of looked like.
And it's really
Oh,
good.
that sounds way better.
Well, and like I just
Already,
felt
that's
like
enough.
Monkey Man just never hit that mark of what it could have been. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it was just the story. Like if the story would have been really good and engaging, I would have watched the last 20 minutes. Like, oh, okay, like they're trying. You know what I mean? But
Oh, hey, update. Boy Kills World's on Hulu.
yep, it sure is. Yeah, and honestly, it's a fun movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The martial arts is really good, and it's just like really good comedy. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I just wasn't a fan of Monkey Man, and that's
There
okay.
it is.
That is okay. It is okay.
That there helps me make my choice. I was like on the fence on 3 of my choices.
Yeah.
This is my 3rd choice, yes? So I do have another one. Maybe a little more round going.
Yep, that's
Okay,
correct.
Cool. So we're going to go for, because I want full slapstick.
You sure did.
We're going to go a little bit of back to 1992 nostalgia. 3 Ninjas.
Hey.
Right?
I don't have to bring it up.
Tum.
Yeah. Young
The-
siblings Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum arrive at their summer stay with their ninjutsu master grandpa, played by Victor Wong.
The great
classic
Victor Wong.
Victor Wong, yes. Who has passed down his vast knowledge of martial arts to the boys, but they're accosted by the criminal Schneider, a rogue ex-student of Grandpa's who kidnaps the boys as part of a scheme to get their FBI agent dad. But Snyder doesn't know just how skilled his abductees are. And these kids go on an ass-kicking rampage of these professional paid henchmen ninjas. My favorite part has got to be the cousins who play the pizza boys, the die yuppie scum van.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not the face, not the face.
Well, this is
The
basically
stomach, not the stomach.
if for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is basically like martial arts Home Alone. Like,
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah, 100%. That is a great way to
And
describe
I
it.
loved it
It's
as much as most regular kids loved Home Alone. This was
Dumplings.
100%. And this led directly to my love of surf ninjas, which we've talked about before on the show. So,
did not like that one as much, but yeah,
oh,
I
dude,
get it.
how
I
can you
get
not
it,
like Rob Schneider as a redhead? Come on.
So, how many of the 3 Ninja movies did you ever end up seeing?
every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, how
yeah,
could you
no,
not?
I think I've only seen the first one.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
What's the second one? Sidekicks or no?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
There's
No, 3
Kickback,
sidekicks.
Kickback, Knuckle Up, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
I did not. Did I see that one? Man, you're bringing me back. So like, I mean, like, so it's funny that
Here's the
like,
point. Like, watch the first one. If you missed the bus, you don't need to watch the rest of them, okay?
it really was like, so you know, you were
Pure
always talking
nostalgia.
about like you didn't get to watch like a lot of films. So my next door neighbor, her parents were very like Christian, very protective of her
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But this was like one of the ones that like they were allowed to watch.
Oh, yeah. Same.
For sure.
And so, like, we
It was
just
good,
went,
wholesome family.
Exactly. We went bananas on it. Which, is it my turn?
It is.
Which is
It
going to bring me... all right, so we're going to talk about this last one, and then I want to kind of
Keep it
go on a
going.
rant towards the end of this, a wrap-up.
Slow
But
it down.
Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
The
very
original
first one.
Yeah, with the fucking
Yeah. Mortal
Christopher Lambert as
Raiden.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably one of, I think, like... So back then, video game movies sucked.
It's terrible.
They were just-
Ricky, I saw the Highlander movie. It was shit.
But it was just absolutely phenomenal. So I had a story that kind of tied into that. So the girl who like her parents wouldn't let her do anything, I was like, we were playing Mortal Kombat, and I was like, oh yeah, like I totally know how to get rid of the blood in that. It's like an anti-blood code.
Yeah.
Fatality.
So I remember like sneaking Mortal Kombat up so she could play it. You know?
Yeah, the Super Nintendo. Was it the Super Nintendo that had no blood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're
Oh,
putting,
the
we're
no
putting
blood
blood in
code,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. But I never put the no blood code.
I mean, that was a waste of time.
Yeah,
Why would you play the game if you were doing that? That's
Put the extra
ridiculous.
blood code in.
Yeah. No. It's a ABACABB.
That's correct. ABACABB.
Christian kids.
But no, I mean, I think to me it's a very overlooked film. I think it was perfect for the time. I think
loved
the
it.
march, like they were, every single person there, minus Christopher Lambert, was like
Well trained.
like, oh, man, you know. I'm gonna wait and see if you guys do this, but I just messed up, and I should have totally put another one in. I just thought about.
I definitely was going to put Mortal Kombat down if you hadn't, but now that opens up room for me on something else.
Yeah,
but I love Mortal Kombat. I think, and honestly, I think Annihilation is a fair movie. Like, it's not a great movie, but it gave us more of what we loved.
I have 1 and 2 on. Yeah, it literally says Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. Like, I thought it was great.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It suffered from the studio not wanting to put a lot into it because the first one
and needing more computers than they were willing to pay for because the technology was there. At this time.
But you got more characters, and the characters. I mean, to be honest, a lot of failure in a lot of video game properties that are brought onto film is the complete lack of nailing what we were already accustomed to seeing. Like, why would you? In the costumes and the fight styles and everything, they nailed it. And the story is easy. It's a video game about an all-encompassing battle for the world and the underworld, and that's what it was. You guys represent Earth. He took you away to the outer world and fucking
your soul.
Fight. we even got Goro, man.
Goro was dope, dude. A practical Goro, yes.
Yeah. I think your GoPro just died.
It did.
Yeah.
Did it run to the break?
No.
Battery.
Yeah, we're gonna swap the battery. And then I'm gonna talk about. I actually when I put this on the list. I was like, I'm gonna rewatch the newest one.
Yeah.
And it was actually
enjoyable.
Well, it was. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like it the first time, and then I rewatched it. I was like,
so I enjoyed it the first time, but with the critical eye, I was like,
I don't think it has the rewatchability.
Why did we need a new character that we had no idea who it was and create his power, which we don't have enough time to understand?
Yeah.
But at the same time, cool, good for us. Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's basically Mortal Kombat's Black Panther. Yeah. I was watching this yesterday. It's like, Wakanda forever.
But even in that, the costumes, the characters,
the fatalities,
dude,
phenomenal, perfect, right out of the game.
Phenomenal.
Yes, there was appropriate amount of fanfare that made it needed since the 1995 versions.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, I mean, even those games, like the games, are just been ridiculous now. Like nobody plays for the story. It's like you just play to see like the way that this thing.
I kind of enjoy some of the story, the way that they the campaign makes you play this character against this character because it allows me to explore the characters, and they're quick and easy. I don't play on hard because I'm just not that hardcore into fighting games.
Right.
Because once I'm out of that story mode, I'm probably good for 2 weeks of the game, and then I uninstall.
Oh yeah, no, it's
because just the fighting back and forth. There's no.
You've seen all the fatalities, the quick button presses, and I'm I can't go online and play. The people that play online they're fucking
so good.
Insane.
No, I just
so it sits in the corner collecting dust until a buddy comes over. And then
correct.
Until my son comes over and I'm like, I still got it. Give me a Scorpion.
Yeah.
Shake the dust. Get over here.
It's like him and Tekken, and then he's like, you want to play the new Smash Brothers? I'm like, no. That was one I never got good at.
Me neither. I was just talking to my sister about that today. It's button mashing beyond what Mortal Kombat is. And that's, I think, where the Mortal Kombat series lost me was when it became the 25 button sequence. You've got to be close, then far, then all of a sudden you're ducking and jumping, and you're like, that's not what I was trying to do, but you got to start the whole fucking combo over
again.
And
then brutalities, like you just...
I just can't. I'm just not built for it, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I liked it when it was 3 buttons and then 6 buttons, and now I play the story mode
I think
and walk away.
I think I gave up at 6 buttons.
Yeah.
PS1. That's when I stopped gaming.
I bought the new one.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
I bought the new one. I wanted to play it, and I
played through the story mode. It kept me long enough to play through the story mode, and then I dropped it. I played a little bit. They have some secondary board game that you can move around. I was like, oh, maybe this will keep me interested. But after a while, I suck at it. I walked away.
So what's your last choice there,
So an opportunity has been opened up, and I believe I've mentioned this film before, but I want to give it another go. I have not seen it since then, and I'm honestly afraid it's probably not watchable, but if you can find it, there is
What is it?
I will get it wrong because it's not Korean. I think it might actually be Polynesian. But there's a movie called Versus. And Versus follows two criminals who get involved with like this syndicate type situation. But it goes beyond that because there is a story that talk about multiverse. There are 666 portals in existence that take you from one universe to another.
Nice.
And they get crossed over in this forest where samurai or martial art, I couldn't identify when I looked it up what style they were. It's martial arts with swords and guns and zombies. And it was low budget. It's fantastic and the sci-fi sense of fantasy and fantastic. It has the high flying. It has it's a bonkers ride that it took everything what we've been discussing as far as like the purity of because the way that the actual fighting was shot was glorious. But then add on to that, you're fighting zombies and you've got the syndicate and it just all come together, which sounds like too much to make any kind of sense, but it's just fun. The whole thing ends up being incredibly entertaining. I'm gonna look it up and see where it's available, if it's available. Have you heard or seen Versus?
I was just looking it up and it looks phenomenal, but I actually have not.
Me either.
That's crazy.
Not heard of it.
Yeah. Rentable for $1.99 on Prime Video, so it's not an option.
Right. Okay. Right on. Versus.
I'm gonna add that to the thing because I will rent it because it looks really cool.
Cents. I mean,
it was super low budget.
Apps nowadays.
I had bought it on DVD. It was during a time where I was just trying to watch a lot of Asian type films of all different kinds because I had learned about Takashi Miike and saw Ichi the Killer and was like, wow, this is way different than things we do. I want to see more of this. And the DVD had behind the scenes, and they basically all camped together, like what would have been like an Airbnb, like some sort of chalet. And they cooked for each other.
Chalet.
Sure. And they just took care of each other as a it's an onion-like thing, which they probably cooked a lot of. But yeah, there's the whole behind the scenes thing really drew me into how fascinating it was because of how seriously low budget. Let me see what the budget was on this. It makes it super impressive. $400,000, grossed only 55.5 worldwide.
Wow!
So super stinker as far as recouping its cost, but for $1.99, I'm telling you to watch it.
Yeah,
Versus
sounds good.
Spelled out.
Check it out. So for my last one, I've got a lot of options here, but we're gonna go through honorable mention. So I'm gonna bring it back to home base with the best martial artist in film, in my opinion, Mr. Jet Li.
Oh, thank God.
And it is Unleashed with him and Bob Hoskins.
Yes.
Such a good movie. Okay, I'll read the overview, but the emotional strain in it is just so good. So crime boss Bart, played by the late great Bob Hoskins, raises orphan Danny, Jet Li, with no knowledge of anything other than how to fight, using him as an enforcer when debts must be collected. Planning to enter Danny into a fight tournament and retire with the prize money, Bart disappears after a deadly drive-by shooting. Danny flees and takes shelter with a piano tuner. Away from Bart's abusive control, Danny learns how to live like a human and begins investigating his past. Now, he basically, he puts a collar on him and he raises him like a dog in a pit. When he meets this music teacher, this piano tuner, he teaches him just humanity, basically. And it's just a beautiful story of redemption.
Played by Morgan Freeman. Right?
Morgan Freeman.
He's in the movie?
He's in the movie, yeah, but he's
the piano teacher.
Is he the tuner?
I think so.
I believe so. I believe you're right. I didn't even get.
He
it is.
Sam.
Yep, he plays Sam.
Well, this was written by Luc Besson.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was thinking it's his student Victoria, played by Cory Condon, that he meets on the street and takes him to Sam, and that Sam gives him shelter away from. Yeah. It's a beautiful story. And then he takes redemption. Like they go looking for him, and he takes them all out. He can't fight with the leash on.
It's been a long time since I've seen that one. I almost forgot about that one.
Yeah, 2005 action thriller, rated R. But like it's emotionally ripping, and it's a badass ride of kicking ass and taking names.
And another one, unfortunately, I haven't seen. That sounds amazing.
It's so good.
It's really good.
I feel like the trailer sold
noir.
That.
It is a noir. No, the trailer doesn't sell it. No,
So
you gotta watch this movie.
Would you say that's your favorite Jet Li movie?
It's up there, dude. I'm a huge fan of Bob Hoskins, and like the fact that they brought the martial arts movie to London and did it justice. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jet Li's always pushing the envelope on what. You know,
that's fascinating
because it's so emotional.
Yeah,
it is an action movie, but it's.
It's
drama. They say thriller, but it's drama, dude. It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Interesting. So our list tonight is Equilibrium, Only the Strong, Sidekicks, The One, Kill Bill Volume 1, Kung Pao Enter the Fist, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Monkey Man, Three Ninjas, Mortal Kombat, Versus, and Unleashed. A pretty eclectic list.
It is, yeah. And man, did I go all over the board.
Very heavy in the 90s and like right in that strong 2000, 2005 era, which I think was probably the strongest time for those releases. And I've been casually looking at some of the returns on some of these, and it's very possible that Hollywood doesn't want to put money into it because they don't make a lot of it back, which is unfortunate because like I know a lot of people who tend to enjoy.
They're all cult classics, man.
But
they all become
like I was saying about Unleashed, there was a movie hidden in there that the marketing didn't at all allude to.
Yeah, no, like if you weren't watching, like I watched it because like, oh, Bob Hoskins and Morgan Freeman with Jet Li, like I gotta see this.
Yeah.
You know, I knew there was gonna be brilliance there, but yeah, like the marketing didn't affect me because I wanted, like, it didn't matter what they said about the movie.
Yeah.
I was watching those three people.
Like, you're like, oh yeah, these three. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing too about, especially back in the day, like you would watch because Jet Li was in it. You would watch because like Steven Seagal was in it. You would watch because like all these people are in it. You know what I mean? That was like
Van Damme, Stallone, Schwarzenegger. Like there was the time where there was the action hero, and when their name was there, you knew what you were getting. Maybe something a little different. Something like Jean-Claude Van Damme did something different each time.
A little bit, yeah.
He was the same, but the movies were different. He did, he did,
to an extent.
Sci-fi. He did
a lot of times somebody was kidnapped or his brother was killed or
he was a fire marshal and had to save the hockey game.
Yeah, there's that one.
Yeah.
Or he was being hunted by rich men.
All of them.
He was playing a Creole gentleman, hard target.
There's a lot to be said about the martial art. It's a I don't want to just call it a genre, but it's an area of film that I would love to go like a lot further back. Like, you know, I've not seen a lot of Kurosawa, and I would love to see more Kurosawa and just learn and appreciate, because like you were mentioning, Cory, the things that are available at the time that they achieved these looks and the crazy performances with the stunts and everything. It's way different than it's done now, you know, with a lot of the green screen, a lot of the in-studio stuff, and the stuff that they would do on a set with so many extras is fascinating. And then for that 90s and 2000s era to turn and add it, more or less, let's just say Americanize it with the style of movie and interject what a whole generation had created, it's fascinating.
Well, I think for a long time, you know what I mean, in the genre, it's like you were like, oh, these guys actually know martial arts. These are martial artists. Mm-hmm. And then you had like, you know, your big American actors who like, you know, action, big guns. And then the Matrix kind of did something a little different. You know what I mean? They taught people martial arts. They spent time with them. They learned martial arts for years, you know what I mean? Like, and throughout the whole film, they learned it, you know what I mean? So, and then you had editing come out, and then you did Born Identity, where you made Matt Damon look like he was an absolute badass through cutting.
Right.
And then they did that for so long, and I feel like that kind of killed the martial arts genre for a long time.
Because you didn't have to. It's you relied on the editing, and
and then we got so people so used to those jarring action scenes,
right?
They got sloppy with it,
right?
And now it's just jarring. You weren't actually getting connected punches to hide.
What Doug Liman did in the first Born Identity was
brilliant.
He masked the skill and the talent of Matt Damon, where the training didn't have to be as sophisticated as it was for Keanu Reeves and team, but he still he shot it in a sophisticated way.
It was revolutionary to the style, yes.
The things that then mimicked it later, all they saw was, oh, cool, we can just hide this in cuts and let's just do it quick. And
they were doing
you could hire whoever you wanted.
They were just doing random movements rather than actually following the arms.
It made that style sloppy, and you lost what was actually marvelous about the Born Identity. So we're gonna get into discards real quick, but before I do, Cory, I'm gonna have you roll this 12-sided die.
All right.
And we're going to pick our movie for next week. Unfortunately, Only the Strong is not fucking available anywhere.
All right.
Number Nino.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
Is that 9?
Yeah.
3 Ninjas.
Fuck yeah.
So we're going to watch 3 Ninjas with our guest on the next episode. It's available right now on Prime Video, but I do highly recommend all of these on this list because they do stretch a variety of different areas in which the martial arts can play in a story, and even the style in which it can be filmed. We've got comedies, we've got serious revenge, and then we've got Crouching Tiger being the more romantic.
It's a really good spectrum of martial arts films from the 90s till.
Yeah,
I was really mad when you brought up 3 Ninjas. It made me think after I brought up Mortal Kombat. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I totally thought someone was.
So that is definitely one of my honorable mentions because Ernie Reyes Jr. is one of my favorites. That's why I love Surf Ninjas, because that was his starring role. Yeah. It was the only time he ever really got a cut. The only time he even had a chance for a comeback was as some revolutionary in The Rundown with The Rock and Sean William Scott, which is another honorable mention. So I'm just going to fire through the rest of them real quick, since I got 2 of them going off the board there. But yeah, Ernie Reyes Jr. and his dad, Ernie Reyes Sr., just were so influential in this kind of thing. Ernie Reyes Sr. was on the Karate Kid. He was on all sorts of if it had martial arts in it, he was probably a consultant of some sort. Or an extra in the background, you know what I mean? Right. So was Reyes Jr., who actually got to start in Conan the Barbarian. So I did Unleash, I could give Kiss of the Dragon, another Jet Li. That one was done in Paris with Jodie Foster. Right?
That was the one with
not Jodie Foster.
Aaliyah?
What's her name?
Kiss of the Dragon, that was with Aaliyah, though, right? Aaliyah was a co-star in that one?
No.
What was that one? When I'm thinking
oh, that was Romeo Must Die.
That was Romeo Must Die. Yeah, but that was also Jet Li.
Bridget Fonda.
So, Legend of the Drunken Master, Jackie Chan.
One of his best.
I love that one so much.
I got to see that in theater, and what a gas, man!
Bulletproof Monk.
Oh yeah,
Sean William Scott
with Chow Yun-fat. Yep. And I always forget that Russian actor's name. He played the Nazi. He was great. I said The Rundown, Kung Fu Hustle, which I kind of mentioned earlier, but that's great. And not to forget Jean-Claude Van Damme's one of his first movies, Bloodsport. With the Kumite. Sure. Yeah. Those are my honorable mentions.
Nice. Cory?
I've got quite a few. To me, it's I just rewatched it yesterday, but I think if you're looking for one of the best, I don't think you can call it modern day anymore. It's been almost 10 years, but Ip Man with
Ip Man, yes.
It's probably one of the best martial arts movies of the time. And then, I don't think
there was something about you saying 90s till now. When I hear 90s, I just kind of stick between
yeah. Well, and then so you got and I just always wanted to talk about you got The Matrix, you got The Born Identity, you've got Ip Man, but then it kind of comes back in why John Wick was so successful.
Yeah,
was because
there was a drought of those type of movies.
But
Well,
it was
more
also
than
played
that,
in the wide. You see how many wides there are in that movie? You let the martial artist be the martial artist.
The director of that movie spent most of his career being a stuntman / stunt coordinator. He knew how to
real
properly
fighting
film.
going on. Yeah, it's
and
real
what
choreography.
went into it.
Like that, it's a dance when you get to that point. It's but they're in real danger. If one of them slips up, somebody's losing a tooth, an eye.
And that hadn't been done in a while because of like Born Identity, which is why I kind of brought that up, because it kind of like got rid of the martial arts films as like mainstream Hollywood. And then, you know what I mean? So you got like Rumble in the Bronx, and then it didn't really, like, John Wick came out, but then you've got the Marvel movie that actually I thought was probably one of the best martial arts.
Shang-Chi, yeah.
And
the Ten Rings, yeah.
Exactly. It's like,
that almost went on my, that's a great movie.
Phenomenal movie. Phenomenal, like, from start, like, you've got
focus on the actual martial arts.
Focus on the martial arts. It's literally got a scene from Jackie Chan's Rush Hour. Rush Hour 2 on there. But then it also, towards the end, it goes into your more, like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like,
right.
Yeah,
it takes you once they go into the forest. Now you're into the magical where you get dragons and whatever that thing is.
So
giant beasts.
Marvel could do like kung fu movies, and it was really cool.
What I call dragon cats.
Yeah, so I think it was just really nice. And then I'm going to say this one as an honorable mention because I really want to say it doesn't go in, but Warrior. Have you guys seen Warrior?
I have not seen Warrior, but that was one when I was researching. I was like, oh shit, I need to see that with what's that guy's name?
It's got the guy who played Bane. What's his name?
Yeah,
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy in it. Another.
That's who I was trying to think of. Was the other guy?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it is a phenomenal movie. It's about like two brothers, so it's just weird,
it's
like
great,
PTSD, almost like Rambo.
Which brings up another conversation that Brad and I kind of had before you got here, saying that. Like, I was surprised at how many boxing movies showed up because you don't really consider boxing a martial art.
Right.
Even though it's allowed in MMA, so it's obviously, which is mixed martial arts. So it's obviously a martial art. It just doesn't register that way. Maybe it's...
So that's where I'll start my honorables. The Fighter with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg.
Movie,
About a set of brothers, which is just, I saw that movie by myself. It's the first movie I've seen in theaters, and I'm so glad I saw it. I skipped work one day. I was like, I'm going to go see a fucking movie.
What was the other one that just came out? Like Iron Claw with Zac Efron, and that was about two brothers and wrestling and boxing.
Iron Claw. That was really solid. Oh my god, that I cried right in front of my son.
Yeah,
I didn't care. That was
I had the Born Identity on there. My hesitation, it was that or Monkey Man. And I went with Monkey Man because I felt like maybe it was more directly martial art adjacent because of the argument that could be made about the Born Identity. Where, I mean, I know that Matt Damon went through some training, but in no way is he as capable as Keanu Reeves has been through the training he's received through his number of franchise and IPs that he's been. So he's a legit fighter. I also had Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron, where she's a CIA agent. And I tell you what, my recollection, I saw that in theater as well. It's a beautifully shot movie. The plot, I think, is what I walked away and I was like, oh, that was whatever. But honestly,
you didn't think of that till after.
Her performance in that, in the way that it's shot and edited, is all 5-star.
Fabulous.
So I did have to mention that. And then the one that I added, I wasn't fully prepared to talk about it because before coming in, I thought we were going to be I thought we were locked post 90s. And I was like, oh, damn it. Because the very first, when Joe sent me the text that we're doing martial arts centric movies, the very first movie that came to mind was a movie from the 80s. And I don't know the year offhand right now, but The Last Dragon. With Bruce Leroy Green. It's a cross of blaxploitation and martial arts with a lead character, and it has the sci-fi magic aesthetic with the blaxploitation mixed in the story of, I think it's Brooklyn or Bronx, somewhere in New York, but it is funny. Bruce Leroy Green is the lead character. You've got Shonuff, who is the leader of the Shonuff, the leader of the enemy gang, and it's been so long since I've seen it, so like I said, I'm not fully prepared to talk about it, but I have to mention it. If you can find The Last Dragon, I highly recommend it. It's fun. It's probably 90 minutes. It's an action, comedy, sci-fi banger that is, peak 80s.
And I do believe, if I may shout out to Diesel, Kamal-san, for Master Dragon.
Master Dragon
which
on
was
Tubi.
a little bit of a tip of the hat towards that.
It sure was. I'd second that. That was a fun movie, and I think that one runs like 60 minutes. Highly recommend.
You
finding
want
that
a
one on.
family-friendly blaxploitation kung fu movie? Go on Tubi and look up Master Dragon. It is hilarious.
So I think that's where we're going to wrap it up tonight. Wait. We did pick one, right? Yeah, Three Ninjas. We're going to watch Three Ninjas next time. I want to make sure I'm doing my housekeeping. It's been a while. Scratch the dust off. I got some websites here to share, but before I do, Cory, is there a place that you would want people to reach out to you, or any promotions or products or releases that you have that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me at CoryJamesTaylor.com. That's Cory, James Taylor, like the singer. And then, I think we've got a few good films coming out. Recently, we're going to release probably maybe June, July. The movie that I made, it's my first executive producer. It's my first director of photography as like a full-length feature film, but it's called Without a Doubt. We just had a really good session with Company 3. If you're not familiar with Company 3, the guys who are like the best of the best. They do like all the Marvel movies and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really solid film. It's a drama. It's a true story. It meant a lot, and Joe had a couple of days on it.
I had a lot of fun on those days. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. Yeah. But I think that's the thing. It's just getting people together, making films.
That was good old shout out Mike Tremblay. That was his movie, his story.
Oh,
First
excellent.
director debut.
Excellent.
But, I mean, it's going to be, I think, a great film. And
Thanks for having me out, Mike, and we look forward to best of luck, break a leg, all that.
What was the name of the film again?
Without a Doubt.
Without a Doubt. Okay, wonderful. Joe, and I'm going to cover the company details.
You can find me on Instagram at chaotic_artisan. On IMDb, Joseph Sheldon Quick. Brad will cover the rest, yo.
Yeah, damn right.
You can, you can also find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram.
There you go.
Same thing, Cory James Taylor.
Cory James
you can find me on Instagram at Beeford Clark. Our website is ufpodcast.podbean.com. That's how you say Podbeam. It's Podbean with an N.
Podbean with an N, like coffee.
Facebook, you can look us up at Unorthodox Film Podcast. We are streaming and available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And you can also get our merch at the UFO Bazaar. Link is going to be in the description, as is all the links I previously mentioned. If you want to get a hold of us and want to either A, participate in the conversation, we would love to have any guests on, or if you want to make any suggestions or comments on what you heard, you can always email us at
info.
No, UFOstudio.detroit@gmail.com. I'm getting confused. We have a new email outside of this, but it's UFOstudio.detroit@gmail.com, or leave us a rating or suggestion and comments on our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We really genuinely want to hear from you. How are we doing? What can we do to make you stick around longer? Or fuck you, we like what we're doing. Either way, let us know.
Yeah, get involved in the conversation. Tell us what movies you would have picked, why you like our choices, or why you disagree with them. Because I'll give you a piece of my mind.
Damn right.
Get yourself one of those frosted glasses. They're so nice.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, our pint glasses.
Yeah.
Don't they feel good in your hand?
They did.
Yeah, it
We
feels so
also have
good.
a nice latte mug.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
man, I might need that for the drive home.
Absolutely.
And if you're feeling cheap, stickers.
Yeah, we got stickers, and we've got podcast coasters.
Yeah,
There's some. The hoodies are great.
And everything's reasonably priced. It's affordable.
Yep. And I've got on our grip to ground adapter shirt featuring a glorious apple box.
I want you to do one with the butt plug next.
Why have we not done that
how
yet?
have we
that
not?
idea hasn't even come
Okay.
up to us.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you, Cory.
Cory's getting 5%.
All right, everybody. Cory is going to join us on Set Life. So next week, tune in for that. And we thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next time.
Peace out.
Goodbye.